Hey friends, this is Waylon Lewis, and I am really excited about today's conversation with two guests that I'm really excited about talking with. There's something kind of awful and sad and upsetting going on in Colorado and much of our world and much of our nation here that most of us, including myself, are not or were not aware of. So these two individuals are working with a group that is not only raising awareness around such, but helping heal it, fix it, and nothing. Thank you for the hearts. Nothing is more exciting and more happy. In case you feel like you're not up for a sad conversation, than fixing or healing a sad and unnecessary situation. So I just want to read a quote, and hopefully my guests will jump on. I haven't seen them yet, but I might have missed it. Oh, they're right here. Okay, I'm going to read this quote real quick so people have a little bit of a ground. This is from a journalism article talking with their group, but these are facts. Since January 1st, and I assume this was written around March 1st, so 2 months, 600 mountain lions and 3,000 bobcats have already been poached. I believe that's only in Colorado. 46% of the big cats killed were females, he said. If it's a female at that time during the season, they're actually either pregnant or have babies at home. And so when they kill one female, they're possibly killing 4 mountain lions because the kittens get orphaned and never have a mama. The numbers are dwindling and we feel like they shouldn't be trophy hunting the big cats. They don't eat them, it's just to stuff them and put them in their house, to brag about. Jacobson said the ballot initiative proposes, which we'll discuss, making trophy hunting big cats a misdemeanor punishable by fine on the first offense, a bigger fine on the second offense, and the loss of hunting rights, probably across the board on the third offense. Seems like a pretty light, misdemeanor. There's really almost no consequences. So it's the least we can do. Let's support this. And let me get my guests on here. All right, Julie and Samantha, without further ado. Did I accept both of you or one? Not sure. If I didn't accept both of you, please re-request. Great. Hopefully I got both of you. So, yeah, I'm Waylon Lewis, and while we wait, Elephant Journal, Walk the Talk Show. We host amazing guests, important issues, fun issues, sad issues, trying to make everything more fun and better every single week. All right, where are our guests? So if it didn't work for some reason, maybe just re-request. Here, I can invite you. This might take longer. Oh, Cats, it looks like you weren't able to join. Maybe re-request. I'm not sure what's going on. Here's Samantha. And then Kat. Hey, Samantha.
Hey, Waylon, how are you?
Good. I just invited you. What was the other account? Cats something?
It's Cats Aren't Trophies CO.
There we go. Thank you. Yeah, maybe I have to invite you. So, Samantha, welcome.
Thank you. No, it's great to be here.
We got the whole crew. How's it going, Julie?
Good. How are you?
Good. It's so great to have you. So I don't know if that little quote encapsulated anything, but it got me pretty caring and involved from having no idea about anything. So do either of you want to lay out the basic situation? And I assume this is Colorado we're talking about, but this applies to many states and countries.
Yeah, absolutely, Waylon. I can get started, and then Julie, feel free to hop in. Just really quickly on the facts here, we do have over 500 mountain lions killed every year in Colorado by trophy hunters. The primary purpose for killing a mountain lion is for the trophy. Hunters will say it's so they can eat the lion, but that's ridiculous. No one eats cats, and it's definitely not at the top of anyone's menu. And with bobcats too, we've seen up to 2,500 bobcats trapped in Colorado and killed each year. That's been anywhere as low as 700, if you count that as low, and up to 2,500. Right now in Colorado, it is permissible to trophy hunt mountain lions with packs of dogs, trophy hunt bobcats with packs of dogs. You can use up to 8 dogs to hound and tree a mountain lion or bobcat. The dogs are equipped with high-tech GPS collars, and that means the hunter can figure out when the dogs have stopped, meaning they've treed the cat, and then take an ATV up to that tree and shoot it from close range with a bow or a gun. And both of those things are permissible. Again, it's totally legal to do that right now in Colorado. The other piece is that bobcats can be legally trapped in an unlimited number. So one trapper can kill as many bobcats as he would like in the state. That's also completely legal. Bobcats can stay in traps for up to 24 hours, waiting to be killed. They can be killed in a number of very cruel ways, but usually it's with a club or with a choke stick to preserve their pelts to sell abroad in China or Russia. So it's all very disturbing. The number of cats being killed is just really unsustainable. We have a lot of great scientific research and scientists partnering with us on this initiative. And I'm happy to talk a little bit about why a ballot initiative too, but I want to make sure if you have questions just about the numbers, we're happy to address those.
Yeah, thank you. That laid out very well. It's horrific. Yeah, I want to get into a couple questions and details, but Julie, did you want to add anything?
Yeah, no, Sam did a great job laying out the situation. I would just ask right now, we're out gathering signatures to get this puppy on the ballot and
Yeah,
kitten on the ballot.
right.
And what we're hearing by and large is kind of like you, Waylon. People are like, wait, what? This is going on in Colorado? What the hell? You know, it's like, yeah, it's like African lion trophy hunting. It's for heads and hides. It's pure recreation purposes for fun. You could call it sport. We say it's unsporting. There's no other reason to do it. It's completely different than identifying a cat that might be in trouble with livestock or a person. Like this measure has strong exemptions for ag to protect livestock, and it allows CPW. We like to say it empowers CPW to handle individual situations with individual cats. So again, it's pure recreation.
There's an issue with a cat and a ranch or a farm, you mean?
Yeah.
Right.
Mhm.
So there's some nuance. So yeah, we've already had a few somewhat nasty, undetailed comments. What's the arguments against this? Which, it may be hard to imagine, but it's always good to empathetically relate in a mature way to what the concerns are. You've already addressed that there's some nuance here.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that, the argument against this, really their biggest argument has been a slippery slope argument that if we go for this, if we make this modification to one type of hunting, if we say this isn't allowable anymore under current ethics,
Yeah.
that will cover all hunting. And that's how these really extreme unethical trophy hunters are trying to loop in mainstream hunters to join their cause, which is really it's disingenuous. I think there's different types of hunting and a lot of nuances even in hunting ethics.
Yeah, like Waylon, you remember back in '92 when we passed the 30 years ago, the spring bear hunt ban, because same thing, hounding bears in the spring using bait. 70% of the voters, maybe even 73, decided this is just not ethical. Even Tom Beck, I actually worked at the Division of Wildlife at the time. He was our leading bear biologist, and he was fully in support of that. So we can absolutely have ethical choices when it comes to our recreation. And let me just say that Colorado Parks and Wildlife is neutral. They've officially stated they're neutral on this measure. That's really important.
Yeah, and they can manage with science either way. And I think that what we've seen in other states like California, where this practice has been banned, there's still management of mountain lions, but it's overall for ecosystem health to reduce conflicts, really living with lions and not managing to kill, which is what we see in a lot of Western states.
Yeah, and just to bring this back to like kind of what got my attention from a heartfelt point of view, because I've covered, whatever it's called, Canadian goose, Canada goose, and trapping, and been a bit active with a similar group in Vermont where I used to live during high school, where they still trap. And trapping is abject cruelty. Often animals will moms will chew off their own legs to get back to their young. They're stuck often for many days. That was an issue with Canada Goose. Is that what the brand was called? So they got rid of fur on their coats finally. It was overwhelmingly popular from their own customers to get rid of those fur-lined kind of hoodies. They were coming from trapping, where often hunters would leave them out for days and days and days in the cold, not just one day. So and the Vermont group calls it legalized dog fighting, when you have the dogs chasing for often to the point of total exhaustion, the bears, or in this case, mountain lions and the Bobcats, I guess. And then, that quote that you're not just affecting the one animal. Often these are lady animals, and they have children in their cave, and it decimates the whole little brood, right? So this doesn't seem to be anti-hunting. I'm not a huge fan, but this is anti-abject cruelty and destruction of an ecosystem, which is science and nature-based, not just like a bunch of vegans running around with their, whatever.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
Yeah, and I think, Waylon, just to elaborate on that a bit, Julie and I come from different points of views on ethics around food and fur too. I live in a rural community of 500 people. I've hunted. I've raised my own animals for food, and Julie lives in Boulder on the Front Range and is more vegan oriented. And I think that between both of us across the spectrum of ethics, this is not okay. And I think that these kinds of practices, they can't be tolerated anymore. They're just so cruel.
Yeah, and what's really cool about what you guys are saying is, what I love about our Cats Coalition is we're inclusive. I mean, we have people all across the spectrum. We have deer and elk hunters who are our most vocal supporters, because they're just like, this is not ethical hunting at all. It's not a hunt. And I just love that. I love that in this day and age, whoever finds something to agree about, right? So, yeah, I'd like that.
And I would just encourage, we have two commenters who are, offering a different point of view in a pretty rude, undetailed way, that we can have dialogue and discussions. Like, I welcome you guys offering some facts. I haven't really seen anything other than saying fur is sustainable. The fact is, like, trapping, at least in Vermont, is totally unregulated. Like, they're asked to do it in one day. Or again, around the Canada Goose situation, they're asked to do it in one day, to check the traps every day, but no one's checking the checkers. So as we've with every single industry, it's really faith-based. And responsible hunters, if you're 303, if you're a responsible hunter, then respect. But a lot of people out there aren't. And I don't think you in good faith could say every single hunter is responsible. That's certainly not. I mean, people are not responsible generally.
That is such a good point. I mean, recent research shows that mountain lion mamas will leave their kittens in the den for up to 12 days. So to say, hey, I'm looking for the kitten tracks to make sure I don't kill a mom, that's impossible. There won't be any kitten tracks. So, like, you know what I mean?
I mean, yeah, so dog fighting is obviously cruel. Cockfighting is cruel. This is like not just, I'm responding to a comment, sorry, Julie. Like, this is not just hunting. Like, one of my best friends is a hunter. I'm vegan. I'm not into killing. I have a dog. Like, I always am like, would that be fun to like kill him and have him for dinner on a barbecue? Like, that's insane. I would be arrested. Like, how is it different from any other sentient being? But even if you take the crazy Boulder vegans out of the picture, and we talk about, rural communities, people do enjoy hunting. Like, one of my best friends is a hunter. He would never trap. He would never get into this dog fighting, dog chasing. We outlawed fox hunting in Britain, right? How is this different? It's ongoing torture and exhaustion. I just don't understand how that could be ethical.
Right, absolutely. And I think that, with the packs of dogs, I know that a lot of the hound hunters do have a close relationship with the dogs. They'll say that they can use the dog, sex
Sure.
the mountain lion, determine what sex that mountain lion is after it's treed so they can get a good look from below. But the fact of the matter is, if they can, they're not doing it. We're killing over 40% female mountain lions here. And the other interesting piece that I tell my fellow rural community members, I'm a member of Backcountry Horsemen and do a lot of work in that community, that if you have livestock or have pets or recreate outside, you should be against trophy hunting of mountain lions. You're increasing conflicts. When you remove animal indiscriminate from the landscape, you open up the landscape to younger animals, to more males moving in, they're younger males. And then there's territory disputes, there's competition for food. So you're increasing the risk for conflict for anyone recreating outside. And you're also increasing the risk to me, my horses, my animals, when we're in the backcountry. And Coloradans shouldn't be okay with that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, so there, some of these comments are getting a lot better. I appreciate the facts and like, some dialogue instead of just insults. They're saying, people have to take a class to hunt. Again, if I forgot what percentage you guys just said of the mountain lions killed, again for trophy hunting, not for sustenance or any need, are killed are ladies or mamas. It's a very high percentage. So clearly that class is not working well enough. If 40% of people who took a class to drive a car thought reverse was going forward, we would have more classes. We would not allow them to drive. And yeah, someone's asking us to define trophy hunting. I think you guys can define trophy hunting, but yeah, if it's not for sustenance, if it's just for putting up on your wall, what's the point? Especially like you said, if it's increasing conflict, if it's destroying the ecosystem that you claim to be, so close with.
Yeah, and I would say that for us, trophy hunting means an animal is killed primarily for the trophy. In Colorado, there's regulations that you have to basically field dress your mountain lions, so pack out edible parts. There's no one in the kitchen with you making sure you eat it, but that reg is cited a lot. So for us, what we see as trophy hunting is we don't need to eat this. We're killing it because we want the head or hide, and maybe we'll cut it with pork and put it in pork sausage later and utilize it in some kind of way. But the primary purpose is for the trophy.
And there's only
Yeah.
about
Yeah.
3,000. There's only about 3,000 mountain lions. I mean, compare that to how many deer and elk we have. It's crazy.
Yeah, I think, we need to be able to have dialogues around this stuff and listen to each other. I mean, the comment you just offered, one of in the comments, is inane. No, we're not talking about outlawing all driving in my analogy. The analogy would be if someone went in reverse every single time instead of forward and crashed into everybody, yeah, their license would be revoked. Of course, they would never be allowed to drive in the first place. So let's have an honest discussion. But so what would this ballot do exactly, and how can folks support it? And beyond that, how can we do it in a way where there is dialogue and listening and not just hating on each other?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that, what we've been really impressed by is that we're collecting signatures right now for the campaign. We need close to 125,000 signatures to qualify for the ballot. But we have more than 300 volunteers statewide that are out hitting the streets, collecting signatures, garnering support for this campaign. It is a campaign that is supported statewide, from Durango up to Fruta and Pueblo up to Fort Morgan. Got all sorts of folks working on this that are just volunteering their time to collect signatures, build support, and have conversations with their communities, right? I think that things are better when they're authentic and they generate from a grassroots level, and you're having a conversation with your neighbors. And social media isn't always the most productive forum for that, but we certainly will make ourselves available because it's widespread. And we hope that, there's at least a handful of rational folks on here that are moved by what we're saying. So for us, what this ballot initiative does is it bans the trophy hunting of mountain lions and bobcats, and the trapping of bobcats. In Canada, lynx are included, for that additional level of protection. I think what we've seen with a lot of animals, once they're downlisted from the Endangered Species Act, once they no longer enjoy federal protections, states quickly move to hunt them. And so that's included, so it would be on the books. There are exemptions now. There's still all of the same things in place for conflict. So any sorts of lethal removals of target animals in response to conflict would still be allowed. So if you have a lion that's eating your sheep or going after your calves, that's that's an offender, then that animal can be hunted and killed. And that's what research backs, is that actually it can be, that's okay once we get to that point. If our non-lethals are in place, then that can solve a problem. But killing indiscriminately does nothing.
Yeah.
Other than let people kill indiscriminately who like to do that for fun.
Right. I think that's well presented. Yeah, there's a lot of comments. I don't know if you guys are seeing some of them, but they're saying lynx aren't allowed to be hunted anyway. I mean, that's not the focus of this ballot, right?
No, and that's what I said. The Canada lynx aren't allowed to be hunted right now anyway. That's correct. But if we look at grizz and gray wolves, as soon as those protections start going down, hunters start lining up to open regulations.
Yeah.
Right. Julie, anything to add on this?
Let's see. No, I mean, we have Sam and I and our whole crew were steeped in this issue. I mean, I've been covering this as a journalist for 30 years. So if you go to Cats Aren't Trophies, anyone can see the science. We have our facts, we have our integrity. We even on our Facebook page, we say, please advocate your position, don't attack people. Our opposition is the Colorado Trappers and Predator Hunters Association, and they've from the get-go just attacked people, and it's really frustrating. I mean, I've actually had to call a news station to get them to get some. They called us liars, and that's actually libel. I know as a journalist you can't do that, so I actually had to call the station manager, and they took it down, and then they had us put a statement of integrity and who we actually are up there. So I welcome questions that are, because people are curious, and I can tell if people are genuinely curious and just want education, or if they're just being combative and obnoxious, and that. But yeah, one of the questions came up. I think she said that my number about 3,000 cats, mountain lions, is incorrect. I fully admit that the situation on population is interesting. It's an estimate, and for decades, CPW was reporting a very wide range of mountain lions, which was 3,000 to 7,000. And that was constantly in my reporting and everyone's reporting. And then only recently they've shrunk the estimate from 3,000 to 7,000 to more of a middle range, but it's still an estimate. We don't have an actual count. So I think it's important for people to understand that. That's not a criticism of CPW. We support CPW. It's just, A, we have to get our facts straight, and B, we have to, exactly like you said, we have to talk with integrity and even if we agree to disagree, let's not attack each other. I hope that sounds reasonable.
Yeah, I mean, a comment just said you haven't heard much in the way of facts other than the emotional talking points. I find that interesting. Samantha's statements were full of, facts about the relationship. Julie, same thing between, ecosystems, hunting. Both sides are obviously emotional. I think it's a little bit condescending to say only one side is emotional here. I mean, if we're talking about, responsible hunters, I think torturing an animal through dog hunting or trapping is unethical. If you're talking about killing an animal, again, I'm not a fan, but that is hunting, and that can be done at least more humanely or more ethically. And yeah, numbers are all over the place. So yeah, we can argue, but I think this is democracy. This is, we have dialogues about numbers, about facts, and emotions are part of what democracies vote on, what our values are, what we care about. So all of that can be healthy. Julie, you wanted to add something?
Go ahead, Sam. Go ahead. You go ahead. Sam, go ahead.
No, I think on the democracy point, I think that's a really interesting point that you made, Waylon. And there's a reason why we're at the ballot now, and that's because the institutions that manage wildlife right now weren't set up for wildlife, and they weren't set up for non-consumptive use. They were set up for regulated hunting. And at the time when mountain lion management was first set up in Colorado, mountain lions actually had a bounty out for them. So regulated hunting at that time in the mid 1900s did actually save the species from extinction because they were being killed for a bounty, right? But now, as science has emerged and developed over the last century, lions are still managed for hunting, and they're not managed for the ecosystems as a whole. But the institutions, to go back to that, why the ballot now, if we look at mountain lions and bobcats, with bobcats, I believe we petitioned the commission a couple years ago for a bobcat trapping ban. The commission is mandated by statute to be staffed with hunting interests. So there has to be at least, there's like 3 different hunting representatives, 3 different ranching representatives. There is 1 seat for an environmental organization out of 11, 1, and that's it. Every other seat is tied to consumptive use. So
So
it
if
was
anything is overwhelmingly undemocratic, it's actually the financial interest involved, right?
right, right, absolutely. So it was turned down at the commission level. Then it was taken to the legislature. And then if we look at the legislature, what happens there is many of our representatives receive funding from special interest groups. Like,
Yeah.
for example, we've got Howl for Wildlife, Safari Club International, all sorts of national players that are looking at Colorado now, and also driving that fear rate up with other hunters, which is too bad. So at the legislature, it was shut down because of a lot of bullying and harassment by outside hunting groups. So really, the ballot is our last recourse. Wasn't our first choice. It's our last choice. And trust me, if there was an easier way to get science through and get values through, I would prefer that.
Yeah.
But here we are, and democracy is really the last action we have. And that's why we need everyone with us, collecting signatures, signing, joining Cats Aren't Criminals, because this is our last option to make sure that we're doing it right.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
oh, I love what Sam was saying. I was just going to turn back to trapping, Waylon, because you know a lot about that, and that kind of gets lost in this measure. It seems like a lot of your commenters know a lot about, I'm guessing, the North American model, and that there's a really, I love talking about that, and one of the tenets or principles is about not commercializing wildlife. And if you look at bobcat trapping for fur today, where it's a teeny tiny amount of people doing it, about 700 trappers statewide. And if you look at what it's for, it's purely to live trap them, kill them, sell their pelts to China and Russia and make a buck. So that's pure commercialization. There's no hunt, there's no sport. So it really goes against the NAM. And I've actually never heard
What's the NAM? Sorry.
oh, I'm sorry. Sam can probably explain that better than I can. Okay.
Of wildlife management. It's what's been used by wildlife agencies since their inception.
Okay.
And it outlines several pillars that are actually really useful, but they're cherry picked to justify different types of hunting. And it's interesting how trappers have often gotten a free ride despite the NAM. One of the main pillars of the NAM is that wildlife shall not be commercialized. But trappers got a pass on that. And I think that they continue to get a pass, ethical hunters, with the slippery slope argument.
And fair chase. Fair chase is it. And if you think about it, the NAM, which a lot of hunters and agencies support, it is about ethics and values. So much of it is. And so that's what we're talking about here today. So
Yeah. I'm hearing also a fair amount in comments about sustainability and hunting. And, that's one thing I welcome. I think, like Yvonne Chenard talks about that a lot with fishing, or, hunters certainly can be responsible. Hunters are a huge part of how we relate with nature and this beautiful country, and can do so responsibly. Again, that's not my thing. But I appreciate people thinking about that. Someone said, what's wrong with dogfighting or whatever, because that's basically what wolves do. That's like argument 101. I think Julie would know this one too. From a vegan point of view, we don't justify our moral actions based on the actions of the past, of tradition, or of animals. Dolphins rape one another. That doesn't mean it's okay for us to rape each other. we have a choice as human beings to make an ethical choice, to make a responsible choice. And if we don't make that choice, we're no better than these animals that we claim to be, at the top of the food chain or whatever, more intelligent or caring than. So
Yeah, I would
anything else
say
you two want to add in terms of how we can be involved in the dialogue and in the ballot?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that, if you go to catsaren'ttrophies.org, you can sign up to volunteer to receive our updates. And then you can also see all of the science behind our initiative. I never want to claim I'm the scientist, but I know
Yeah.
some great ones, and
Yeah.
I'm fortunate to be able to call on them when I have questions. I think on the sustainability piece too, stable mountain lion populations, and is this kind of hunting sustainable? It could be. We could keep killing lions this way and still have mountain lions. Is it the best way to manage mountain lions? I don't think so. Mountain lions are self-regulating. If we go back to my conflict conversation earlier, if one lion is there holding territory, there won't be as many lions in that territory, right? But if we remove it, then more can move in. What makes populations unstable is sport hunting.
yeah.
It's the same thing with coyotes,
Right.
right? It's actually been shown to increase coyote populations.
Right.
I think a lot of this is done because, and I'm talking about my friend who I love, right?
Mm-hmm.
Who's a hunter, because frankly, it's fun. Like, let's just talk about the facts. Like, if it's fun, that's great. Nothing's wrong with fun, but we have to look at the effects of the fun. And if the fun is harmful, actively harmful or cruel, then it's not fun. It's, bullying or worse. So yeah, there's plenty of ethical fun to be had for responsible hunters, I think.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
I think you nailed a big core of this issue is like decades ago, it was lion trophy hunters would almost be proud, and they still are if you go like to Safari Club and so forth with all their prizes, and they use the word trophy hunting everywhere. It's saturated. They would be proud to say this is our fun, our recreation. But today they know that the average Coloradan who doesn't know this is going on, they know that if the sunlight was shined on what's going on in our forests, no one would support it. So what's happened is we've got this false narrative of this so-called need. We have to do this for the public good, or we're
Right.
heroes. So we have done an exhaustive study of the science, and we've turned to our leading scientists, including Panthera. And what we found is there is no science to suggest trophy hunting of lions or fur trapping of bobcats does anything to solve any problems or manage anything. It doesn't manage populations. It doesn't make us any safer. It doesn't save pets. It doesn't save livestock. It's pure recreation. And so it really, therefore, it comes down to an issue of ethics, and that's where we sit.
Well, and again, like there's so much fun to be had ethically, responsibly hunting. Why actively like exhaust an animal and then, nip at it and chew it up and then kill it. I mean, that's terror, especially if they have four cubs or whatever back home. Same with trapping, where they're freezing, their bones are crushed, they're tearing at their own skin. I mean, it's insane. Like, why is that okay? That's not okay.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Oh no, I was just going to say too, in Colorado, it's a little different than other Western states. It's cage trapped, so their bones aren't crushed necessarily unless they're trying to chew.
Sorry, I'm talking about Colorado and Canada.
I know
Vermont. Sorry.
Yeah, I know they're legal in other states still, but thankfully we don't have it here. And
a trap is still, sorry to interrupt, but asking a question. A trap is still like they can't turn around. They're stuck. They're potentially starving. They could be freezing. We think animals can never be freezing, but if they can't move, if they can't get in a comfortable cave or whatever situation, if it's the middle of winter, it still could be abject cruelty.
Right. Absolutely. And we've seen other species still be bycatch in those traps. So we have a video of someone that had accidentally trapped a golden eagle and shook the eagle out of the trap to the point where you could tell its wings were broken, and we're laughing at it as it got out. So the cruelty still persists, and so does indiscriminate take.
Laughing at the bald eagle with the wings broken?
Yeah, golden eagle.
Golden eagle, sorry. Wow. Yeah, that's a little bit unhealthy.
Yeah, yeah, it definitely is. So I think that, again, there's a spectrum of hunters and hunting
Sure.
ethics. There's a spectrum of people that are engaging with wildlife that way. But what this is saying is carnivore hunting, it's unnecessary. And mountain lions, bobcats, Canada lynx, we don't need to do that to keep their population stable. And no one needs to eat them. So why are we doing it? And if it's just a handful of people, that it's a
Yeah.
drop in the bucket of the agency funding, by the way. It's like, Julie, you know the number off the top of your head. It's like 1%, less than 1%
It's
of agency funding.
0.14, or
Yeah,
no, yeah, 0.014.
yeah, of the
Yeah,
agencies.
so there's been several like reasonable, rational comments, and I want to thank people for that, saying what about the funding? So now you're addressing that. You're saying it's
Yep,
0.014 is not significant.
it's a
Yeah,
drop.
I've got the website here, and I will confirm that.
Okay.
Uh, yeah,
But
we
in
can.
you're saying it's
Yeah,
marginal.
it's negligible. And so if we look at the true overhead too of managing carnivore programs like that, I think it would be interesting to have a natural resources economist look at something like that, both the funding income, because it's so negligible, and the output for full-time bios that are managing hunting quotas for mountain lions.
Yeah, if you look, I'm looking at the pie chart. So hunting licenses and passes, 68.9, and of that, and then 0.1% of a $198 million budget. So yeah, it's a drop in the bucket.
0.1%.
0.1.
So yeah, and there was a God, what was the comment just now? I'm trying to relay some of these comments. Love the dialogue. God, there's so many comments. The slippery slope argument from ENB. The way the ballot initiative is written could be used in statute if it passes to ban hunting altogether. I don't think that would ever be supported by Colorado voters anyway. It states to ban intentional pursuit, harm, or kill a lion or bobcat, that is hunting. So yeah, how do you respond to that concern if it's genuine?
Names the species mountain lion, bobcat, and Canada lynx. So automatically that qualifies what we mean by trophy hunting. It does not mean your trophy elk. Like when you take hunter's ed, because I've taken hunter's ed and I have my hunting license, you go through different phases of being a hunter. You start out and you're taking an animal that's maybe more opportune for you. You take an opportunity because it's the first one. And then as you move forward and become gain more experience, you might try to hold out for like a trophy, a bull elk, or, you don't take the first animal you see. And so to me, what we're saying is the trophy hunting of mountain lions, bobcats, and Canada lynx, period. We're not saying, everything you've learned in hunter's ed is wrong. We're definitely not saying that. And it's certainly not something I would personally ever support. But I think that, that again, that slippery slope argument using fear is one way that extreme interest groups can pull in the more ethical hunting base.
Yeah. And on that issue, I think that what's super frustrating is when I guess I shouldn't be surprised knowing how politics works and how people want to raise money. But again, that argument is coming straight from our main opposition, Dan Gates, from this, he heads the Trappers and Predator Hunters group. And he's raising a whole bunch of money by saying, oh my God, they're going to take away your guns. He's also an NRA spokesperson. They're going to take away all your hunting. It's the end of the world. And so send me money. So that's the message out there. So that's not advocating a position. That's fear mongering, and that's politics today. And I don't like that. It's like advocate your position, stay positive, and have a conversation about it. And don't villainize people, I guess.
Well, and
Yeah.
I think
Well, just to put a pin in that,
yeah.
seems like emotional, whatever it was, that quote, that seems like emotional, factless arguing instead of having a rational, mature discussion, which hopefully most of us are doing. Samantha?
No, I was just going to say, I think that the problem is we often have these conversations and use science to go back and forth or to go back and forth. And what they really are values-based conversations. And that we're not being upfront and direct with what our values are and what we're afraid of or what we're uncomfortable with. I think that, you know, for me, say my values lie in carnivore conservation. I don't see a reason to hunt carnivores. I never will. I'm not going to cross that line. You might get me on a bear one day, but that's it. And, you know, and I can stop there. And I know that I've examined it. I've gone through it as a hunter and as someone that's engaged in wildlife that way. But I think that we're not being upfront about that with other people, right? I think that we're having these conversations back and forth and in fear and people to not really discuss the issues. And that to me is really sad.
You know, when I worked at the Division of Wildlife, I talked to some really good people there who would say their term was keep your eye on the resource, and they meant the wildlife because there's noise coming at you from every direction, and so to me it's like let's keep our eye, and that's what you're doing, Waylon. You're really honing in on what is actually happening, like the unfiltered truth, I like to say. And that's what we need people to see. I mean, don't take it from us. Just simply Google mountain lion trophy hunting in Colorado. You'll see a million videos posted by the people who are killing the cats. And I'm not slandering anybody. Like somebody said in the comments, I haven't slandered a single person. I'm just stating that this we need to have people to see what is actually happening and go see the fur trapping and listen to their own words, read their own posts, and you'll see a very different picture than what's being put out in the public. It's almost about this issue, and that's what's so frustrating is it's hard for people to see, so we're trying to figure out, you know, how can we get people to really see the truth in the best way, you know.
Yeah, I always feel like with these kind of situations, and there's so many, where you have two groups that really just don't get together and talk and listen. You know, it'd be so good to have a forum with, you know, some responsible members of each side and discuss. One of the questions that just came up, and I feel like we've already touched on it, but said, why don't you just have, you know, Colorado Parks and Wildlife manage this situation and kind of stay out of it? Like, because they're the experts.
Yeah, and I 100% agree that they're the experts. I think that right now they're tasked with managing for hunting, and they're not tasked with managing for healthy lion populations or healthy ecosystems. That becomes secondary to how many lions can we kill. And I think that that's true for most state agencies. The other piece, like we said, is that commissions are stacked, and that happens across the country.
Right.
So we aren't seeing even the best science go forward. I have a lot of for wildlife bios whose science has been manipulated or changed or shifted to meet management narratives. And that happens more often than you would think it would happen. So to me, if I'm going through science and I'm looking at science, again, it goes through science, ethics, and what should we be doing differently now? Because we're in a different world than we were 100 years ago. We should all be asking, what should we be doing differently now?
Well, the cool thing is we could still have, like, you know, I've been in a very small way involved in like trying to bring bison or buffalo back to Boulder, you know, where they used to be on, and it's, you know, not really practical here, sadly, anymore. But, you know, we wiped out bison and buffalo by the millions, right? Because of indiscriminate hunting, you know, thousands just from a passing railroad. So to your point, like if this is 100-year-old thinking, you know, we need to kind of update ourselves. And I think the management ethos is a little bit kind of convenient or paternalistic. Like ecosystems balance themselves. We've all seen these videos of when wolves were reintroduced to Yellowstone, right? The entire ecosystem rebalanced itself. So often, you know, the hunting community, at least some of them, really want to kill those wolves, doesn't want to have any predators, wants to trophy hunt, but really allowing some of these beautiful and powerful species to exist and create their own balance that's what nature does, and we're part of it.
Yeah, and especially when talking about apex predators. You know, mountain lions, the science tells us that they only need two things, deer and space to live, to thrive. And so when the deer go away, the lions go away. It's like their populations follow the deer and the space to live. So they don't need us to go in and balance them. Like you said, it will take care of itself.
Yeah.
And yeah, so I think that's
Well,
what you're saying.
I don't know these groups. I'm sure you do. Howl, CRWM, and Blood Origins. I mean, I would welcome any, responsible folks onto the show. So if someone wants to do that, you can DM me. But, you know, uh, yeah, I mean, I appreciate your guys' caring.
Yeah, can I add one thing about CPW?
Yeah.
Is that I can tell you we have former people who used to work there and still work there that support us. And I also want to say that uh, we like to say this, I think I said this earlier, but the science says that the most effective way to handle any type of conflict with a mountain lion with people or pets or livestock is to selectively identify that animal. And there's so many studies peer reviewed that there's actual evidence that that is the way to handle it. And that's what CPW does so well. And they relocate as well as euthanize. They're they're the experts on that. And it's not just them, it's ag that's involved. It's our local police. We have a state and federal office for wildlife services that does that. We even did a CORA for Freedom of Information Act, and we found out there's about 200 complaints a year, and of those, about 60 mountain lions are killed every year. And those are specific verified complaints. Now that is so different than what they call prophylactic mass killing of lions who haven't hurt anyone or been in conflict. And like Sam said, the science says that actually that can cause further harm and further complaints as well. So so I hope that's some good facts in science that people are asking for, some more facts. And we, again, more of a serious-minded, high-level conversation, which we welcome, absolutely. And we just met with some CPW folks yesterday, which was really fantastic. Yeah, so I'd say, I mean, Howl is actually the group that killed the bill in the legislature that HSUS was doing. HSUS is not part of the ballot measure. So Howell killed that bill and we have a news article from the Colorado Sun, and I actually know the story behind the scenes because I was at the Daily Camera then. But what basically happened is they have this artificial intelligence program where anyone from any part of the country can just send a letter and make it sound personal. And they literally sent the news reported 20,000 letters to the lawmakers when it was going for its first hearing. And boom, the two lawmakers they dropped off the bill, and then it just died. So that was not any type of democracy in action that we would want. Yeah, I don't know if you had any thoughts about that, but I wrote an editorial about that. I was outraged. This bill needed to get a fair hearing, but the fact that Howell had such an outsized influence in our Colorado process of democracy, that's why we're here today, because it didn't get a hearing.
Yeah, I think, again, responding to some comments, if humans were functioning as part of the ecosystem, I think that would be fantastic. Instead, what we're doing is we're, building highways and flying planes around, and we have incredibly sophisticated GPS collars and, guns, and, we're upsetting the balance. And I don't think anyone can really argue with that. Again, responsible hunting can play a role, and no one's disagreeing with that. For people who are saying, yeah, let's have some sort of debate or dialogue, I would welcome that. I think you two probably would, and other members of your group, with someone responsible from each side who is fact-based and not going to be insulting one another. I certainly welcome that anytime. Any final points? I know we've been on here for a while.
No, I just hope that people will go to catsaren'ttrophies.org, sign up. We need help gathering signatures. It's a grassroots statewide effort. And yeah, if you'd like to talk to me more about cats, you can find my email, samantha@catsaren'ttrophies.org. And I'm happy to talk to people that have different views. I make myself available for that. So
Yeah.
anytime you can find me.
Yeah. Julie, Samantha, thank you so much. Thank you for your work and your bravery and your the discussion. Martin, I generally agree with the point you just made. Again, I'm vegan, but I do agree that ethical, responsible hunters can be doing far better work, more humane for the animals than, say, going to Amazon, Whole Foods, and getting some ground beef, from a factory farm out of plastic. So yeah, there is a place for responsible hunting, and that's not going away anytime soon. Even if I were king of the world and would wish it to be so, it will not be so. So that's not what we're discussing. We are discussing trapping, trophy hunting, and shooting mamas when they're pregnant. I mean, that just doesn't seem appropriate. All right, thank you, everyone, and I will look for DMs if we want to have a round two that is responsible and about dialogue. Um, I have a long history of hanging up on calls when they are not so I would enforce that. But that would be welcome, and I appreciate all the comments, and I really appreciate you two coming on.
All right. Thanks, Waylon.
Thank you.
All right.
Bye.
Thank you so much.